Hey guys, this is Tiggy Maximus with Tiggy Maximus Talks, episode 208 on Spotify and YouTube. And thank you guys for subscribing, following to the podcast, listening, spreading the word about the podcast, and even donating to the podcast. Which, by the way, you can click on a link on my Spotify episodes and it will allow you to donate to the podcast. Also, there's a link um, in my YouTube episodes where it allows you to go to the Spotify site and it allows you to donate to the podcast anything you want. Although I think the minimum was like 99 cents a month or something. So please donate if you want. Anything's appreciated. But spread the word and listen and kept following and subscribing. So on this episode, I'll be talking about just two things. I'm going to be reviewing a comedy show by Migrante. I believe it was November 9th with Ellis Lynn, Dalina Horchata, and headliner Dakota Freeman. And I'm also going to give you guys my predictions for UFC 309 coming from New York. And the main event is Bones Jones, your heavyweight champion, defending his heavyweight championship against heavyweight GOAT Stipe Miocic. Got some good fights on that one. And let's get into it, guys. So let's start with the predictions. Um, I've always been a big fan of Bones Jones. John Bones Jones has been pretty much mostly unstoppable since he's been in the UFC. He's only had one disqualification loss, but that actually might get overturned because now they are allowing 12-6 elbows in the UFC. It's no longer deemed illegal. In a way, that's probably true because it's kind of like any other strike, and you are facing your opponent. So most of the strikes, or maybe all particular strikes, if you're face to face with your opponent, should be a legal strike in a fight. So, I mean, I get it. You can't hit behind the head. I'm okay with that, and no, no direct targeted striking of the spinal cord. Um, I think those are like maybe the only two, and then of course the no soccer kicks. Can't kick a guy in the head who's grounded. So, um, oh yeah, yeah. So with that being the case, you know, most likely that disqualification loss will be overturned, and technically Bones Jones will be undefeated. But for right now, he's 27-1. We'll be okay with that. No one's gonna lose sleep over it really, except maybe Bones Jones in a white. Now with Stipe Miocic, guy has quite a few heavyweight title defenses. He's beat basically the who's who. He won 2 out of 3 in the trilogy with Daniel Cormier, DC. He's beaten uh, he's beaten Overeem, Alistair Overeem, um, and I believe Miocic did um, get his revenge loss against Junior Dos Santos. One thing I probably did not see, and it probably didn't happen, was Stipe did not fight Brock Lesnar, nor did he fight Cain Velasquez. Those have been some really great fights. Um, Stipe Miocic actually does have a you know does have a victory over Francis Ngannou, the Predator, who was the UFC heavyweight champion before his, I guess, his, um, I guess the end of his tenure with the UFC. and he went to pursue boxing, but he is now signed with the PFL, which is a competitor to the UFC. Um, but since then, people have been wanting to see Bones Jones fight the Predator, Francis Ngannou, but um, we'll see how that's going to go. Um, uh, and then maybe one day, we'll see if the money's right. I would say the money speaks volumes to have that fight even happen. But Bones Jones versus Stipe Miocic. If I had to predict who's going to win this one, I am picking Bones Jones to defeat Stipe Miocic by finish. This is not going to go 5 rounds. This is going to be a finish. Um, Chances are, I probably would say Bones Jones will win the fight in the second round by TKO. Yeah. Um, but who knows? Might be surprised. Next up, we have the co-main event, lightweight bout between Charles Oliveira and Michael Chandler. And um, I gotta say, this is a rematch. They had fought for the lightweight championship before. Um, Charles Oliveira, he got knocked down by Michael Chandler, but kept his composure, got back in the fight, and finished off Michael Chandler by TKO against the cage. Um, and then Oliveira kind of have a few title defenses, and then finally had met his match with Islam Makachev, relinquishing the title to Islam. And Islam has been your champion of the lightweight division ever since. Um, if I had to pick a winner for this one, since Oliveira did win the first one, and it was very convincing because Oliveira did have a very great strategy to the fight, knowing that you can get up and just need to just crawl back into the fight, and he found his openings and he was able to finish off Michael Chandler. So Charles Oliveira, I'm picking him to beat Michael Chandler. Next, we have a middleweight bout between Bo Nickel going up against Paul Craig. Paul Craig has pretty much been a veteran of the middleweight division. Has a very interesting style to fight. He's a submission specialist. And Bo Nickel, I believe he has great wrestling. Um, his striking's okay, but not like top tier, top notch or anything. But I gotta say, Bo Nickel should defeat Paul Craig in this one, um, probably by um, probably by decision. Um, you're probably gonna see Bo Nickel be on top of Paul Craig most of the fight, and it's probably gonna be end up on the ground for 15 minutes. So I think Bo Nickel will probably win this fight by decision. Um, Next, we have a women's flyweight fight between Vivian Araujo going up against Karine Silva. Uh, Both great fighters in the women's flyweight division. I got to see some of their fights. Um, Araujo is kind of tough. Not um, not an easy fight to take, but I like Karine Silva in this one. She is probably going to bring this fight to the ground, and you're probably going to see a submission. So I'm picking Karine Silva to win this one. And the first fight to open the main card of UFC 309, we got Mauricio Ruffy fighting against James Yontop. And this is going to be a catch weight because James Yontop is going to be fighting at 166 pounds, while Mauricio Rafri, he is going to have to fight somewhere close to, I'm probably guessing somewhere above 156. Um, I don't know if that was agreed upon or this was actually uh, Lon Top, Yon Top had actually missed weight by 10 pounds. So, but they still want to do the fight, which is all good because you get to see who's the better one. Hopefully, the strength is not going to be a factor in this one because of the 10-pound difference. But they might be meeting somewhere close to the middle. So we'll see. Um, I would say this probably be a good fight. Um, I'm probably picking Mauricio Ruffy to win this one. Um, I would say the feature prelim fight is actually a bantamweight fight between Jonathan Martinez and Marcus McGee. Uh, this one's gonna have a lot of striking though, so this should be exciting at 135. A lot of action. Um, Possibly you might see something on the ground, but I'm getting the feeling that this is going to end up being a strike striking display. So you'll probably see a lot of back and forth. Um, I'm probably gonna pick Jonathan Martinez to win this one over McGee. Next we have a middleweight fight between Chris Weidman and Eric Anders. Chris Weidman, is your former middleweight champion. Um, he hasn't been particularly sharp, but he has picked up a win now and then. But it seems like he has a lot of rust, and he hasn't really gotten back to his old form. And it has been a while since the days that he beat Anderson Silva. Um, but this one's gonna be kind of hard to pick. You can go either way. Um, I am going to be picking Chris Weidman. Why not? Chris Weidman is going to win this fight. Kind of get back on the saddle. Give him a little bit of confidence. Um, the guy was coming, he's recovering. It's been a few years since that leg break he had against Uriah Hall. So, um, next fight, we have a lightweight fight. We got good old Jim Miller going up against Damon Jackson. Um, this one, this one's gonna be kind of interesting because you're not really sure. Jim Miller can still do it, but then again, the competition at that what he's fighting now is probably where he could peak at. He won't look overmatched, but it's like the right spot for him to be in to fight these guys that are not even ranked. But at least he gets to be on the card. So Damon Jackson, I've seen him a few times. Nothing too splashy about him. Um, and I guess this is gonna be at lightweight because Damon Jackson has been a featherweight, so there's gonna be like a 9-pound difference here. I guess maybe they might just be fighting at 155. See what happens. Um, I would say this is kind of a coin flip. I mean, they have Damon Jackson as the favorite, but I think Jim Miller's gonna win this one. Next up, we have a lightweight fight between David Onama. He's going up against Roberto Romero. Um, I know Onama is like the heavy favorite in this one, and given that he has done well striking, I'm gonna go with Onama. Onama's gonna be Romero. Um, Next up, we have a early prelim fight, heavyweight Merson Tibura going against Janata Denise. Um, this one, well, Tibura has been around the UFC for a while, and he is older by 6 years than Denise. Uh, this should have quite a few striking in it. and it might be it might be 15 minutes probably. I'm probably guessing uh, Tibera is gonna win this one. Uh, I don't remember too much about Denise, but if Denise, who's undefeated, can surprise everybody, but I have a feeling Tibera is gonna win this one. What's the right fight is next? We got Mickey Gall versus Ramiz Brahima. Brahima. And for those who might remember, Mickey Gall had fought CM Punk. When CM Punk finally came over to the UFC, tried to hit his hand at the UFC, but I guess he has two fights. He technically lost both, but the second fight with Michael Jackson, I guess that was overturned because I think Michael Jackson had tested positive for something. So his only fight on record is his submission loss to Mickey Gall, who tapped him out with a rear naked choke. Um, but it's kind of interesting to see Mickey Gall on here, and he's 7-6. I'm surprised he's still in the UFC, but I would imagine if he loses this fight to Remiz, he'll be out. But this is one of those fights that just kind of fills in the lineup. I guess they were just available. Um, I can see that they both like to do submissions and takedowns. Has some striking. About the same age, about the same reach. But Mickey Gall is taller by 4 inches. But if I had to pick, I am gonna pick Brahima to win this one. Next fight is a welterweight fight between Basil Hafez and Oban Elliott. Um, this one has gonna have a lot of striking, gonna have quite a bit of takedowns. But I like this fight. This is gonna be an exciting fight, it seems. And Oban Elliott is gonna be the favorite in this one. Um, I am gonna go with yeah. I'm gonna go with Oban Elliott for this one. And the fight that's gonna start the entire UFC 309 women's flyweight fight, Veronica Hardy. She's going up against Eduarda Mira. This fight can go either way. Odds are kind of even. They both like to strike. They both like to do takedowns. More so, Mara. Um, Veronica Hardy is a slight favorite, but I'm gonna go with Maura to win this one. So there you have it, guys. Those are my picks: Maura, Elliott, Brahima, Tibera, Onama, Miller, Weidman, Martinez, Ruffy, Silva, Nickel, Oliveira, and last but not least, the main event, John Bones Jones, retaining his heavyweight championship. Quite possibly retire, and quite possibly might fight Tom Aspinall, the interim heavyweight champion. Well, I do want to talk about this one comedy show I went to, Vino Migrante, and honestly, it was a fun show. Um, Ellis Lynn got to start off the show. She had a few new jokes and uh, didn't do too bad. She did kind of lose the crowd at times, but she did get some laughs in her set, and so some of her jokes did hit, while the others, I guess, they're kind of fine tuning, need to be polished. Um, but she didn't do too bad. I want to say that she was a 7.5 out of 10. Um, then next up we have Taylor Spencer. Um, I've seen Taylor Spencer quite a bit, and I did see her last time at the mic drop, and I think that was for the show with Pete Giovanni, and there's quite a few comics on that one. Um, uh, the crowd had some laughs for Taylor in this one, um, but I think a lot of the jokes I've already heard already, like the master hands and the job interview with the zoo, and she was competing against a sex offender, so she didn't even study zoology, but she ended up, getting the job anyway because you can't really hire a sex offender, but you can act like you know the job. So, um, theater beats sex offender. Um, and then she kind of explained what improv was like, and she does stuff with her hands. And she did the pose where her two hands opposite each other are talking to each other. Um, and I guess she kind of did some improv. It didn't exactly use the words in the improv, but it just made it more funny because she incorporated into her own because that's for the purpose of the bit. So she did all right. Um, I want to say Taylor Spencer was a 7.75. Next we have Lauren Resnick. She usually has her bit about her grandpa and trying to find a guy. Um, and she just has that whole thing about just waiting for her grandpa to kind of pass away so she can have her inheritance. Um, oh, and then she talks about the cock blocker, the glucose monitor. It'll go off. uh, so, um, she did all right. I think she got some laughs in her set. Um, but I want to say she was a 7.8 out of 10. Next we have Chuck Compost. Um, he has some good stories. Um, he did get some laughs, but the laughs were kind of far apart actually. So I don't know if I had known there was a punchline, um, but he's getting better. I want to say Chuck is a 7 out of 10 for his comedy. I think he's been up now for at least 3, 4 times now. Next we have Randy Villarba. He likes to talk about the Padres and tanks and kids who can chuck rocks at tanks, which is kind of a reference to the whole thing about the $700 million that is paid to Shohei Ohtani. He also talked about businesses like dry cleaners, especially in the Texas South, because those coat hangers are killers. uh, I think he was trying to gauge this Latin Migrante crowd, but he got some funny ones, and because I got it, I always get it. But I gotta say, Randy Villarba, um, 7.9 out of 10 for his comedy. Next up was Darlene Horchata. She was the other host actually for this one. Um, she talked a lot about resetting herself. Um, Talked about her style. Um, and I think she was wearing like jeans and boots, and so she kind of talked about fashion for a little bit. But she uh, she was kind of intense, and I think she was trying to get some anger out too. Um, uh, She didn't do too bad though. I want to say Delina was a 7.6 out of 10. Next we have Carol Johnson. Uh, she did talk about her son, I believe, on stage, and she talked about dating, and and she did talk about stuff in her pockets, pants with candy treats, because if she ever fell down and she can't get up, at least she won't starve. And she has treats for her cat, so they won't eat her face. Uh, that was probably one of her best ones. Um, I want to say Carol was 8 out of 10. Didn't do too bad. Crowd liked her. And then now we have your headliner, Dakota Freeman. First time seeing the guy. Um, the guy was pretty interesting, and he does hold the microphone kind of in a special way. Um, I don't see a lot of comics do that, but the way he does it, where he holds it um, lined up to his mouth, like in a straight line, and he holds the microphone at the end of the microphone. So that was pretty interesting. I kind of noticed that um, he did talk about he just got married, um, and uh, he had some funny jokes, but then the crowd kind of pulled back, and they had some more funny jokes. But then as he kept going, he did notice some people kind of got up and left when he found out he had 5 more minutes left. But um, the funniest part was because of the fact that people got up and left, knowing that after hearing there's 5 minutes left and didn't want to hear the last 5 minutes. That was just super funny. But overall, um, his comedy wise, I want to say um, it was quite chill for a set, and it may not have clicked that much with this crowd. I mean, I got some of it, but I couldn't get over the fact that I was laughing at the 5 minute mark that was left when you get the light at 5 minutes left in your set, and people don't want to stick around for that. And just to kind of acknowledge that, that was already the funniest part of this whole thing. But I want to say, Dakota Freeman, um, I want to say he was a 8 out of 10. So overall, fun show. It was kind of cool seeing a new guy, Dakota Freeman. So kind of cool getting to talk to him for a little bit, and I think he lives nearby Riverside. So so yeah. Um, um, so yeah. Divine Migrante, I guess, will not have another show for the rest of the year, but they're probably going to pick up again in January. So can't wait to see. And Alice Lynn, either she'll be hosting it or she might have a co-host or a special guest host. So can't wait, can't wait. And oh, you know, I am co-hosting tonight. I'm an associate producer again at the Mic Drop Comedy Club with Jeremy Gumbo Christian. We're gonna have three people who've never done comedy before, and I'm going to introduce these three people, and they're going to try their hand at comedy, 3 minutes to 5 minutes. People are going to vote, and there's whoever wins is going to get a cash prize from Gumbo. So can't wait for tonight. Should be pretty cool. It's gonna be a lot of fun. This is my second show as an associate producer, so I'm gonna get some friends to go to the show, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. And UFC 309 is tomorrow. You already know my predictions for tomorrow. And Chargers are playing the Bengals on Sunday Night Football on NBC. Go Chargers! They're gonna win for sure. And I got Justin Herbert starting on all my lineups, but I have him on my team. All right, guys, that's it for me. You know the saying goes, boom! Tiggy Maximus, signing off. Baby.